Hey everyone, this is Curb, and I bring you another standard match. So set 13 has finally come out, and very soon we will be seeing a lot of content for set 13, but of course that may take a little bit because we do have the holidays coming up, and a lot of people won't be heading to locals, they'll spend time with their families. But in the meantime, we're going to be catching up on some of the old videos that I do kind of just have stuck in my backlog. And speaking of bygone eras, we do have two decks here of a past format which have since lost their former glory, and of course I am talking about Gandeeva and Wilista here. I believe this matchup has been seen before on the channel, but today we are looking at two different players playing it. We get to do my favorite activity, criticizing Wilista players, and talking about Gandeeva, I guess. I guess these are my two most popular videos, how to beat these two decks. But let's just, I guess, go over how they face off against each other, even though it doesn't really matter anymore, because even though I think both these decks are still playable, they are just kind of outmatched by what is currently in the meta with set 13. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the video itself. So we do have a basic first turn, Wilista going first, just riding up, Gandeeva riding up, using the BOV ride line, which is something you don't see a ton of these days. I myself haven't really decided which one of the two is superior. I mean, I see mathematically that BOV should be theoretically better, but it never shows up in practice. We see a very I'm just gonna call it a bad play here. I don't know why you would want to pass the Vanguard, especially in this situation, because they do actually end up breaking through and smashing 2 damage into the face. Thankfully, we did get 2 defensive, so that Ramona is actually not going to be able to hit, but we really could have just, you know, saved on shield value, I guess. If we hadn't got those 2 defensives, we would be at 3 at this moment. Even if they got that critical trigger and gave the power to the Ramona, let's say we did get the 1 defensive, okay, then we just commit the 15k shield and we're in the exact same situation. It's just not really worth it to bet on getting double defensives, because if we had just gotten 1 there, that Ramona would have still hit. But of course we just got lucky there and managed to, you know, stave off the damage a little bit longer. Just Gandeeva riding up, swinging and passing. Wilista, of course, going to be taking the damage, because you do actually need at least 1 damage, or I don't say you need, you want 1 damage when you're at grade 3, so you can actually proc your Aphelios. Using the skill of Wilista, of course, there, Soul Blasting out the gem card, checking the top 5, calling an Elevira and an Ophelia. Now, of course, we do also get the plus 15k, which is going to make this a very powerful Vanguard swing. Calling out a Yuika from hand, as well as a critical trigger, and then playing that crossing Illumere. So calling out the critical trigger is something that when I played Wilista, I generally did not do. I do definitely see the value of adding a trigger back to your deck. It's always going to be a good play. However, I would always stay away from that, because I am just like that, a little bit more of a defensive player, where I like to keep my cards in hand. I would rather have the guarantee of a 15k guard than the chance of hitting it on the drive check. But, you know, if you don't actually have anything better, it's perfectly fine and even beneficial to actually just call that critical trigger there and shuffle it back, as we are going to be seeing here. We do see another critical trigger coming out from the drive check. Pretty unfortunate for Gandeeva. We're already at 4 damage, and the opponent's turn isn't even done yet. We're not at grade 3, so this is really going to be an uphill battle, even going into the next turn, as we see a 36 coming out from this Ophelia again, and the other column is swinging for a 38, using the Yuika to bounce the Ophelia back to hand. A definite very good play here, because it does actually leave you with the golden ratio of 2-3, the 2-3 ratio. This other Ramona going to be swinging in at 38. We're going to be PGing that attack, which kind of makes me wonder, if we had the PG, why didn't we just PG the Vanguard swing? I feel like that is what you should do. I think I even noted that in my how to beat Wilista video, where you should always guard the Vanguard if you can, with just like as little cards as possible, but take it if you can't. Definitely you should, you know, just PG the Vanguard. It's a big swing. It's worth the PG. We do see the best harvest here, and actually, now that I'm looking back at this, a really big brain play here would have been to use Gandeeva's skill, target only the grade 2, and purposely whiff off of the Gandeeva skill in order to bind to, draw to, then since we do actually have more cards to retire, including this Sturgna, the grade 3 that is now at 1, we are going to draw the card anyway off Best Harvest, so it doesn't really matter whether we whether they have 0 UBDs or not. So if we had actually done that, we would have been able to draw 2 off the Gandeeva, 2 off the grade 3, and then not 2 off the grade 3, 1 more off the grade 3, and then another one off the grade 2 for a total of 4 cards drawn. So kind of a big brain play there. I don't really fault anyone for missing that, but I guess if you Gandeeva players are still out there after set 13, keep that in mind. If you have Best Harvest, you kind of might want to whiff on Gandeeva's skill sometimes. But we do see the grade 2 multi-attacker calling out a Brachioforce, a card that I think me and my team have agreed is not very good in Gandeeva. I think that just like on hits need to be super impactful for them to be playable, and of course Brachio is not really going to be there. Looks like we are eating the Gandeeva skill, the Gandeeva attack there, taking 2 damage, actually hitting into a defensive, meaning that this Brachio cannot actually hit right now. So what we are going to do is actually a pretty interesting play, swinging with the grade 2 for 30k, which is going to allow us to proc the skill of the grade 1, binding itself face down to draw a card, and now Brachioforce is actually going to be able to hit because it's now at 24 with 7 cards face down in the bind. So a very interesting play here. That would have been a 5k guard, but instead we decide to take it. We're going to actually see that that does matter a lot, even though the Brachio does get to trigger, allowing us to draw another card, but that is actually going to be a very impactful choice. It does make sense to actually go to 5 here in a couple situations. So first of all, if you don't really have a good 5k guard here and you're kind of running low on guard in general, you probably don't want to commit a 15k. You'd rather save it for the next turn. Because 5k guards tend to be pieces and you don't really want to give up those pieces. So actually just taking that swing when it's not going to be lethal anyway is not a terrible move at all. And we'll see the second reason why that is actually a very good play in just a moment here, as we call a very strong board here. Oh, the other reason we can just take it is if we plan to kill on this turn, you know, it doesn't matter whether we're at 4 or 5. If they're going to die, they're going to die. As we see the affiliate here, unfortunately we didn't get the Persona Ride, and we didn't even have the gem order. So very questionable whether we could actually finish this turn. But looks like we're going to be swinging, taking the Vanguard swing and hitting into a front trigger. And we see the second reason, or the third reason I should say, why going to 5 was actually impactful, because we see a 4th damage heal trigger. But because we took that damage during the last turn, it is going to prevent Gandeeva from actually healing down. So very good there. Like I said, if this is your kill turn, being at 5 is technically a better place to be when you're on your kill turn than it is at 4, because it just denies your opponent that heal, as we do see this first affiliate guard swing guarded, but the second one is going to meet its mark, making it the end of the match. Anyways, quick one for you today. Hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to do those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.